So like one of the biggest narratives of modern life is that there's no right and wrong. There's no black and white. And nothing is, or you don't really have the right to say anything is better or worse than anything else. You know, and the thing is I think it's so complicated because in life we kind of learn some things, right? We learn that some things are just better to do. Like it's better to exercise than not to exercise, right? It's like better to, drink enough water than to not drink enough water. It's better to sleep the correct amount rather than, and there is a correct amount. That's the other thing. And then to not sleep that amount. But in modern society, what they're doing, what it is it's postmodernism. It's postmodernism has infiltrated a lot of thinking. And also too, men on this channel, this is what I think people really need to know. You are also partly postmodern. It's like we are, part of what this channel is to weed out those things in ourselves that we accepted as we've, lived in this world. Because it is difficult. And I will say this about postmodernism. The reason why postmodernism, or the idea that nothing is right and wrong, and there's no good and bad, and there's no correct way to do anything, the reason why it survives is because there is some truth. And the truth is that where postmodernism is 100% true, this is what I think, like, let's say old school conservatives didn't understand. And then the reason why the fight against it hasn't really worked is because the thinking's not clear. Here's where postmodernism is 100% true. Sensuality, humor, what was the other thing? There are aspects of life. Okay, let's say with taste and food and colors and art. That's what it is, art. So art, sensuality, and humor. There's no right and wrong. Like a lot of things that are very funny might be very tragic, right? So it's not like, oh, that humor is correct or that humor is not correct, right? It's like whatever makes you laugh and surprises you is funny. And then sensuality is whatever feels at that moment interesting is something that is like, it feels good, right? So a warm feeling in the cold could feel quite good, right? Even though, it's maybe too warm, but you're very cold, right? It's like, it just depends on the situation. Sensuality is touch, smell, sights, experiences, on your skin, in your body, in your mind. And those things, there's no really right and wrong. There's no clear right and wrong. And I think this is what Republicans, in the U.S. had wrong, is that they're like, no, there is right and wrong. There's yes. And that doesn't work with sexuality. That's what happens as people get older. For example, as guys get older, your sexuality needs to change because your body changes, right? When you're having sex as a 67-year-old man, right, if you expect yourself to act like a 19-year-old man and you never change the way you think about what you're supposed to do as a man and what she's supposed to do, if you just stay the same all the time and you have this like right and wrong. Now the right and wrong is right when you're young. You want to fuck the girl. Like you really fucking, there's certain ways you want to do sex, right? But as you get older, you need, as a wise man, is you adapt and you adjust. And the crazy thing is, and here's what I want to say about sex, is that if you adjust, you can have a rich life. And if you don't adjust, you become very sad because you just hate yourself because you're not the same person that you used to be. You change and life changes around you. What attracts you, what you find attractive, it's all very, in other words, sexuality and humor and art, they're very unclear, and they're based on where you are at the moment, right? As a person, where you are, right? And what you're capable of. It's very sad to, when I see somebody with, let's say, the same haircut their whole life, like they might have long hair when they're like 19 and they look really cool, and they have like a beard that's like half grown and they look very masculine, right? It's like a great look for the guy. But then when he's 25, that same look doesn't quite fit the same way. And then when he's 27 and 30 and 40, that look now looks like a homeless guy, right? The same look that was very good, but people that can't adjust, they just they have this like really rigid view of themselves, and they always are wearing the same thing. They can never adjust that it's not just their body, it's not just your body, it's also the way people look at you. So I dress differently than I did when I was 30, because I realized that I'll wear a little bit more long sleeve shirts than I used to wear. I don't wear I used to wear like tighter shirts, all the time when I was like 30 years old. And I found that it suits me better at this age. And I have to accept that I'm changing, right? And move along with the way people look at me and my life. And also the thing I want really young guys to know is that it's a beautiful journey. Don't fight the journey of life. There are more colors and things to see in this journey. If you got life figured out, and you never change. Here's what I eat. Here's my haircut. Here's my clothes. Yes, that is maybe the best path right now. But as you move along, you will find new enjoyment in things. You're like an old man, he will look at his garden and have great enjoyment in that garden. A young man might have a Harley or might have a race car or something, right? He might enjoy drifting. But an old man can really enjoy, maybe a young man will go hunting and want to kill animals, right? But an old man could really enjoy just watching birds, watch their eyes open and watch them move around. And that's very enjoyable for an older man. It's something to watch things grow. So his enjoyment has changed, right? So that's where nothing is right or wrong. It's more about being aware and being aware of different ways that you could act, and just keeping aware of what other people are doing, and that you don't always have, it's just not being too rigid, right? But there's other things, and this is, I think, more important. Personally, I think this is more important in today's society, is that there's things that are better and worse. And people don't like to say that anymore. They just don't like to fucking say this is better. But I personally, we were just talking about it, but I think if you ever stand up on a surfboard, let's say you stand up on a longboard and you're riding like a little wave, right? Anybody can do this. Like a longboard, anybody can stand up on, right? Especially a 10-foot board. But if you ever do that, or if you catch a wave like body surfing, if you just get out there and learn how to catch it and let it pull you along, right? And the feeling that you feel when you're surfing, or when you're being pulled by the wave with no motors, nothing artificial. It's just you're catching the physics of the wave in the right place. It's up to you to be in the right place at the right time. And then you catch it and it pulls you along. That feeling is a very primitive, very amazing feeling. And once you feel that, you'll realize, this is what I think. I just going to say straight up what I think is reality, is that it's a better feeling than a lot of other things. And so when you see other sports, you'll kind of realize they're kind of cheesy. They're just kind of, it's like I don't know, it's like you're just not aware of how cool life can be. So you're doing something. It's like if you live in a small town and then you have a park, and that's like your nature, right? Because that's all you have, right? But if you actually go travel, let's say you go to the northern, areas of Thailand, or you go to, let's say, a jungle, or you go to a real forest, right? where like it's really like it's just that it's like it could be in the East Coast of the United States, or it could be in Switzerland, or it could be in northern Sweden, or just thinking of places I've been, where I just feel this kind of like awe of a real wild place where there's no humans, there's no roads, there's no one coming to save me, there's animals, there's danger, and like that feeling, I'm like, whoa, like that's fucking cool, right? I think somebody who just lives in one area, who has this little park and maybe takes a couple of trips, in his life, he doesn't know what's out there. And so it's a lot of knowing what's better or worse, or knowing what's right or wrong, or real or fake, is not your intelligence, but it's more your curiosity and then you getting out there. Because you can think all you want, right? You can sit there and think about nature, but when you're in it and you're immersed in it, you'll understand the difference, and then you'll know what's better. Because you'll be like, fuck, this is like, that fucking park was so fake. That was so stupid, right? And I think that there's right and wrong, there's better and worse, but you only know that if you know more. So part of it, I want to push myself and other people. That's partly why I do events in different places and I go to different places, is I want to bring people in there, people that don't think they like the city, came to New York, and then I showed them New York from, the way I see New York. And a lot of people were quite, it was like I saw the face kind of open, and like people were kind of like, oh, I thought that big cities were like this. And I thought that you had to do this in big cities. And like we did what we do. We cruised around, walked around and found cheap food and, like explored, and we did our thing, but in this big city. And I think there was people definitely at the summit who were like, wow, like I could be a New York guy. And they never thought of themselves that way. They were like, New York is fucking totally different. And it's like they have all these like fake ideas about life, ideas about New York, ideas about themselves that just crumble when they are immersed into a new reality. And so part of it is getting yourself out there, because you can think all you want, but you need to get there. You need to feel it. You need to experience it. So I want to get people like, I wouldn't be who I am if I wouldn't have taken that trip around the world when I was 23. That was what, it pushed me, because I was thinking, well, why would I go there? You know what I mean? Like your mind is telling you that. Like, why would I go to the desert? Like, I could go to the beach. Like, why would I do this? Why would I do that? Fuck the why. Get out there. So the around the world ticket just stopped in a circle in various places around the globe. And so it just pushed me into these places. There's still a lot of places I don't know, but I saw an amazing like cornucopia of life by being forced to just land in somewhere and just be there, and then to explore in that area. And my life would have been, I don't know if I'm saying this, well, but my life would have been so small if I was just in Southern California with the food and knowledge and friends and experiences that I would have had only being there. So right and wrong, good and bad, is based on my library of knowledge. So if you just have one book, you just reference that one, you know what I mean? But if you have a library of books, you can go in and say, okay, like, fuck, I want the exact book that I want right now for this topic, right? If you just have the Quran or the Bible or one book, just that one book all the time, you get everything from. It's so limited because there's no math and there's no, there's so many things that aren't in there, right? So you want to have an experience of life more like the Library of Congress. And then you can say, okay, then you will see what I'm talking about. You'll be like, some fucking oranges are just better than other oranges, right? You can have there's all these oranges, and if you ask a postmodernist, they'll say, oh, they're all the same. But if you've traveled and eaten different food, then you'll realize some things are just fucking better. They're just fucking tastier. There's no comparison. Like, it doesn't matter what they're called. They're just fucking better, And just the way it is, organic food just tastes fucking better. It just does. Just fucking organic food, just non-GMO organic food fucking tastes better. Period. No matter what the color is, no matter what the fucking bullshit, it just tastes better. And we were just talking about cars, but and Sean was saying something about a car being better than another car, or a choice being better than another choice. I think men, we need to start to say, like, what is fucking better than other things? And hanging our hat on that. Because it's very easy to not put yourself out there in life. And just the easy way to go is to say, oh, there's no right and wrong. There's no good or bad. There's really no better choice or worse choice. Because in the old days, I just watched this they call them fairy tales, but it was like a fable in Chinese this morning. I was watching, the Three Little Pigs, right? And the one built his house, of straw, and then one of wood, and then one of brick. And what they used to teach you in fables is what is the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to build a solid house that will protect you from the elements, from the dangers, right? But now they say, oh, well, any house is fine, just anything. And don't get me wrong, I love the modern world. I love the changes. I love the internet. I have no desire to go back to anything. And I don't think that there's one building material that's the best. You know what I mean? Maybe in certain circumstances, right? That's where it's based on the situation. A wood house is the best house in Thailand. A wooden house breathes, it's up in the air, it smells good, it's beautiful. But some places wood is not the best house, right? In the desert, your best house is going to be a mud house. It's going to be some kind of like deeper in the ground. You want it like sinking down in the ground so that the earth cools it. You don't want to just be using electricity to cool it, because it just won't be a smooth coolness. Whereas the earth is just a certain temperature underground. So by building it into a rock, into the earth, so it depends on the situation, of course, what is better. But there is better and worse, right? There's better and fucking worse, right? It's like, I was thinking of the other day, I was talking to Bank about maybe on roninman.com we could put some kind of a, not Yelp, but like a list of all the best places to eat for the money, for like in different cities, and the exact thing to order. So, I can tell you, like from what I've done, my experience here in Santa Maria, California, is the best food I've found is to go to Vallarta Supermarket. They have on Broadway, there's one that has little tables. You go in there, get a pound of carnitas. It's like $11. They'll hand you a fucking pound of meat, right? And salsa for free. And peppers too, if you ask for them. Like roasted peppers for free. And you sit there with that pound of meat, dip it into the fucking homemade salsa they have. It is an unbelievably tasty meal, and fucking filling, and tons of protein, and it's healthy, and it's just fucking delicious, and the people are nice, and there's no tip, and you just fucking $11, you're eating a fucking pound, and you're full for a goddamn long time. And it is tasty, and you feel good about it afterwards, right? And if you want fruits and vegetables, you can walk over to it's a supermarket, so you can get, fruits and vegetables and eat them at the table. That combination is the best thing to eat in Santa Maria that I've found. I've looked around at all the restaurants. Maybe we'll find something better, but I seriously doubt it. That's like a fucking solid thing to do. Even at Vallarta supermarkets, they have all these sets that have rice and all this bullshit. And they're just basically bullshit. They're just basically total bullshit. That pound of meat is the best fucking deal. Now, I'm not saying you can eat it every day. You're going to get tired of it if you eat it every day. But it doesn't matter. If you're going to come into Santa Maria, you're hungry, you want to go to Vallarta supermarket and get that fucking food. right there, done. And you're gonna get the best meal and then move out of town, right? So I like to find the best food for the money that fills me up, that's healthiest, it's fastest, in the most comfortable environment, and then done. And I hate the idea of nobody telling me the truth. Nobody telling me what's the fucking best. You know what I mean? Like, I just hate that, because then I get into a town and I don't know what to eat. And it takes me forever to figure it out. It's like, what's that called? Obfuscation? It's like, obfuscation. What is it?
Obfuscation.
Obfuscation, right? It's obfuscation, because it's like deliberately hiding the truth, because a Big Mac, there's just no comparison. It's just total bullshit. Like, I will eat, I'm not saying I'm I'll eat a Big Mac if I'm starving and there's nothing else, but it's fine. I'm not anti-McDonald's. I like sitting at McDonald's having coffee, but the thing is like, there's no comparison to the value of what you get of a pound of carnitas, with homemade fucking salsa and fresh roasted fucking jalapeno peppers, and for 11, that's fucking great deal. Fucking great deal. You can go climb a mountain, lift weights, whatever the fuck you want to do. You got plenty of power, and you can eat your vegetables later, right? Another meal, right? You just kind of, that meal, you're going to go for meat, right? Fuck it. I might grab an avocado and maybe a banana and maybe something else, some kind of green, and then eat it in my car later or whatever. I might get my vegetables, but time is the essence. I need some fucking food. That's the best fucking deal. Period. And I'm the same way, like in Brooklyn. There's certain meals that are just, I have like 3 meals, and they're like the best meals. And once I show people those, other guys who are like me, healthy, right, who are in shape, they're going to agree. They're going to be like, that's the fucking best deal. And it's like, I think life is kind of like that. And it's like, I want other guys who think like that, who can recommend things. So if I get to North Carolina, somebody will just put their hat on something and say, here's the best fucking place to go. Here's the best thing to order. Exactly. Because the thing is, you got to know about the salsa at Vallarta. If you just go there and buy the carnitas, it's going to be dry, and it's a good deal. It's a lot of meat, but it's hard to eat. If you get the salsa things, and they'll give you as many as you want if you ask, and you start dipping it in there, it's totally different. It's absolutely fucking delicious then. You'll just be like sucking that food up, right? And you'll be totally stoked, right? So it's like the little subtle things too. I want to know exactly what to order, right? Don't get a drink, because all the horchata and all the Mexican drinks, they're just all sugar and bullshit, right? In the sets, you're just getting rice and beans, which usually the beans have a lot of trans fats in them. There's a lot of bullshit in those saturated fats in the beans usually. To get a good refried bean, you have to get something that doesn't have saturated fats, and they do exist, but they're never going to have them because they're more expensive. So in the whenever they have ready-made food, it's always the saturated fat ones. So that's why I avoid beans. I love beans. Beans are fucking great, but I don't want hidden saturated fats in there if I don't have to, right? So that's why I avoid the sets. It's because the rice tends to be old, tends to be oily, and it tends to be low quality rice, because they're trying to fill you up. They're trying to give you a meal. That's why when you go to a fucking restaurant, not only do you get cornholed on the tip and stuff here, but also they give you bread, tons of white bread, which just turns directly into sugar in your bloodstream. That's why people have diabetes. There's so much diabetes because they're eating so much white rice, so much bread. And of course, a lot of sugar too. They put sugar in there in the bread too. So it's like a lot of bullshit in there. And so I think part of living long life is having this mindset of what's the fucking best. Like, what is fucking better? Tell me, and I'll go do it. I'm not mindless. I'm going to go, if you write down the exact thing, let's say in the comment section, or maybe we could put a map on Ronin Man where there's like, you can click on there and put your city in there, right? Like, where's the best place to hike? Where's the best place to swim? Where's the best place to park for free downtown? Where's the best place to eat? Those kind of things. Like if I come downtown to, let's say, a big city in Boston or whatever, if I know the one place I can park for free, That's incredibly valuable for me because I hate paying for parking. The reason is not just the money. I hate using my credit card in the machine, okay? Because I always think there could be some kind of a thing in there, skimmer in there. I hate pulling out money in some areas when people are around. It's like, it's not comfortable. The next thing is sometimes I put it in the wrong number because they're deliberately confusing some parking. If you travel all over the U.S., you'll know what I'm talking about. There's places where the police like deliberately set it up so you don't even know what number you're on. And then you pay for the wrong number and then you get a ticket. It's like, there's like bullshit like that. There's like toll roads where you go into them and you don't even know you're going into a toll road and then you get a ticket. You know, it's like fucking just bullshit. There's like fucking scummy police situations around. And there's also just lazy, stupid police that just have things like, they don't care because it's not in their interest to make it super clear to you, right? So there's that kind of bullshit. There's the money bullshit. There's the scumbag bullshit. There's the homeless guy's bullshit. Standing around when you're pulling out money, asking for tips and asking for money, right? There's all that. Plus there's the money you have to pay, right? Plus there's the amount of needing quarters sometimes, right? That's total bullshit. And other times, the worst one is that you plan on going somewhere for half an hour, but then you realize it's a cool place and then you're there for 3 hours and then you get a ticket, or you have to always be a slave to running back. Basically, all this bullshit is just fucked. Fuck paying for parking. Fuck always paying for parking. I want to always have free parking. So where's the free parking, right? Where's the exact road where I can park free without having a permit, without stressing out, and I can just leave my fucking car and go enjoy your fucking city, and I can be in the coolest part of town, right? There's always a road. There's always a secret spot that the locals know. Like in Santa Cruz, I know the exact road. I can write it down. I don't know that in my mind right now, but I know exactly where it is. And I can tell you, if you go to Santa Cruz, it's a bunch of den of thieves of fucking people giving tickets. Santa Cruz will fuck you over with a ticket. But if you know the road, it's free and it's no hassle, right? Santa Cruz used to be free parking, and then they changed everything. And now it's like hell. It's like total hell. There's like homeless guys everywhere. You know, there's like fucking paid parking everywhere. Whereas, you know, it's like if you can avoid those scumbags, you're better off, right? So this area is away from the scumbags and it's free. And then you can walk down the beach and you can enjoy the beautiful Santa Cruz. Because Santa Cruz has so much to offer, right? So it's like, what's the best? The best is free parking. The best is a $10 meal, fills you the fuck up, and you can get it at any time. Like, I don't want fucking breakfast, okay? I want food, okay? I want a fucking filling meal. I don't understand the idea of eating bullshit in the morning. Why should I eat a bunch of bullshit in the morning? That's a stupid idea. Like I should eat a bunch of white bread and bacon and stuff. No, bacon is nitrates. Nitrates cause colon cancer. There's no fucking doubt about it. I like bacon and I will eat bacon. I'm not saying I'm totally against bacon, but I don't really want my ass to hurt and be dying in a hospital bed because of bacon. I'm not into that. You know, that's not high on my list of things to do in the near future, right? I prefer just to be having a good time traveling and enjoying my life, right? Nitrates are fucked. Avoid nitrates, right? Avoid white bread unless you want to have diabetes, you know. So what do I eat in the breakfast? What do I eat in the morning? Basically the same shit I eat at night, right? Food, good fucking food. I want a good fucking meal in the morning. I want to have a good sleep, right? I want to have a good fucking meal. And then, my whole life, this has driven me crazy about breakfast. I'll get up and have chili, right? I'll have chili for breakfast. I'll have a fucking cup of coffee. I might have some spinach. I might have, some vegetables, whatever. I might have a steak. Whatever is available. I'm going to have something healthy that I would eat at any other meal. I might add one little thing like a piece of fruit or something that I wouldn't usually have with dinner or lunch. But basically, breakfast is just another meal to me. I want to have a good meal, and I'll always do this. My friends, it's so funny. People are so brainwashed. In the morning, I'll eat dinner food. My friends will all eat breakfast food. And then about 11 o'clock, everybody will be getting in a bad mood, except me, because I feel great, because I had a great meal. So I feel fucking great. So I can go till 2. I don't have to eat breakfast at lunch at 12, because basically I had a great meal. My blood sugar is even. I'm full. I've got energy. I've got everything I need, all the vitamins, nutrients, right? And then my friends are always kind of getting fucked up with 11, 11:30. They just started getting cranky, right? Because they haven't had their fucking things, right? And it's like people that hang out with me for a long time, like they see me eat and they're like, I'm going to eat like you. Like I'm like, I can't believe how many people don't figure this out on their own, because only when I hang out with them, like I have so many friends and so many people I've worked with, like one of my greatest moment, if you could say, was I used to work in this little office headhunting company in Akasaka Mitsuke, and every day everybody would eat all this bullshit. All the girls and all the guys would just go eat these expensive restaurants and stuff. Now I had tons of money, so it wasn't like, but I just would sit there and eat vegetables. Like I'd eat bell peppers at my desk, and I'd just eat like a bunch of spinach, and then a big tank of like non-fat yogurt or whatever, low-fat yogurt. I just be eating that, and then nuts and seeds and whatever the fuck I was eating, meat, And then they would be eating the restaurants with like white rice and snap. And then I left, and then years later I ran into one of the girls, and she's like, and she was eating like a bell pepper by herself, and I was like, no way, you're eating a bell pepper. She goes, when you were there, we were all looking at you like you were crazy. All the Japanese. We were like, what the fuck? This guy's like a caveman. Like he just eats, rough fucking things whenever. And then she said, so everybody was like too embarrassed to do it when you were there. But after you left, she said, everybody ate like you in the office. Like you totally changed the whole office the way we ate. She goes, we didn't want to do it when you were there. I thought it was fucking hilarious. That was fucking hilarious. Because I thought, it had a good effect on them, because they just saw a better way to live, right? And so I think there's better ways, you just don't know. So it's like one at a time, just figuring out. It's like red pill on every issue. That's really what it is. It's like, that's what the red pill is, seeing the truth, right? Seeing what's better. So like, what are things that are just better? Like I would say free parking is better. Right. This idea that you should just accept this paid parking bullshit. I mean, I'll pay if I fucking have to, if I absolutely fucking have to. But man, I hate it. And I always prefer to pay one fee if I have to. Like if there was an all-day parking for like $20, I would, rather than putting like $15 a quarters in or whatever, I'd rather just not like the stress of, you know what I mean? Like at worst case, if I got to pay, I just want one fee. Here's my one fee. I leave it there. I'm free for the day. That's if I have a choice, like money is one thing, but it's like peace of mind is the other. So I might not only stay that long, but at least I just don't have to fucking worry about it. And I can enjoy my day. And I can just flow through the city as I like, right? I don't have to go back or stress or think. I don't want to have to think about my car. I don't want to have to think about tickets. I just want to go and enjoy the city, right? And explore and let it take me where it takes me, right? Because again, with cities, like you're into that kind of postmodern thing. You're just enjoying sights, sounds, sensuality, and you're just getting out there, and you're not. There's no right and wrong. It's just like you're just exploring, and your interest, your curiosity, and you're experiencing things, right? That's what you want to do, right? You don't want to be logical. You're just being a tourist. You're having fun, right? But what are some things that are right? So free parking is right. A good meal for around $10 with a lot of protein, that's right. So I want a list of all the best places to get the most killer meal. And it's very rarely in a restaurant, has been my experience. It's usually some kind of, it's usually like some kind of takeaway or some kind of special thing. There's always some old lady cooking something that you can just get a bunch of soup. Sometimes it's soup. I really like homemade soup. So sometimes I can get there's an Iranian supermarket in Irvine, California, which is the best thing to eat in town. It's like there's an Iranian supermarket. It's near UCI. I can get the name of it, and they have tables. So you basically what you do is you go there, and there's all this everybody's eating all these roasted meats, and there's all these things to confuse you, but they're all just bullshit. The best thing is the soup. It's filling. It's a full meal. It just looks like soup, but it's got huge chunks of meat in it. And it's really a whole fucking meal. It's warm, it's tasty. You don't need any water because it's soup, right? You don't need any drink. You got everything in that meal. It's like a really, like, I like that too. The idea of there's one thing that's a whole fucking meal. And sometimes soup does that, but it has to have a lot of meat in it, or it has to have a lot of really filling stuff in it, right? To me, to feel like that's a meal. But there's this brainwashing where you need a drink, you need a salad, you need a this, you need a that, you need this. It's like, that's not right. That's just brainwashing. A fucking, like a bowl of chili is with lots of beans in it, lots of meat, and lots of like spices and lots of onions and lots of garlic, like a real homemade fucking filling thing of chili like we had last night. That's a fucking meal. You really don't need anything else. You can have a piece of cornbread. Like, that's a nice addition. Like a really heavy, real, like Indians would make back at 100 years, 200 years ago. That kind of cornbread with chili is very good. And maybe a little Tabasco sauce or something, that makes it a little better. But really, a bowl of chili is really all you need. What are other things like that are just fucking true? Like, one thing I would say in Japan, if you're going to Japan, like true, right and wrong. Basically, there's a lot of bullshit in Japan. There's like everybody eating noodles. Noodles is the biggest scam. If you want to make a lot of money, make noodles. Ramen, any kind of like, it's just bullshit. Anybody, ask an entrepreneur in Japan, they'll tell you. The biggest scam is noodles. They cost like 5 cents and they charge you like $10, There's just a few pieces of fucking onions in there. It's just it's a fool's errand to eat noodles in Japan. Even though I like noodles, as far as health for the money, it's bullshit. It's like white bread. So what do you do in Japan? You go to the supermarket, okay, that has tables. And there's not very many of them, but there are some. They tend to be a little more expensive. It's totally worth it because they have garbage cans. In Japan, there's no garbage cans. There's no garbage cans. So you can't, if you buy something, you can't find a place to throw away the garbage. You got to carry it all day. The only place is some convenience stores have garbage cans. So you got to pretend like you're just like walking by and then stick it in there because you're not supposed to, because it's from somewhere else. So basically, all things considered, I want to wash my hands when I'm done. So I go to a supermarket with tables, and I find out the ones in town, right? And I go there, and I'll get like a big piece of salmon or sashimi. So for like, basically like three-quarters of a pound. The idea of, sushi's bullshit, okay? Sushi's bullshit. It's just, basically they're tricking you. Same thing, same trick, rice. It's rice and then fish. You're going there for raw fish, not for rice. Does it say rice restaurant? Why doesn't it say rice restaurant? It's because you wouldn't go there. It says sushi. So you think fish. But if you look at it, it's like 80% rice, right? That's bullshit. That's tricks. That's not correct. You want a large piece of sashimi grade fish. And this and wasabi and soy sauce will make you, that's like a whole meal because the fish oil is so filling. And if you eat 3/4 of a pound of fish or a pound of fish, a very good sashimi grade fish, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Don't even worry about vegetables on that meal. You don't need no fucking vegetables that meal. Go get a piece of salmon that is like a pound of salmon, like we were doing in Brooklyn, right? And just put some fucking wasabi on it, put some fucking soy sauce on it, eat that fucking thing, and then tell me how you feel an hour later. And you'll be like, God, I feel fucking great. That's a fucking good meal. That's like $10, right? Maximum $13. And you got yourself a fucking great meal, and you're going to have energy for hours after that. You will feel the energy coming through your bones. That's right. That's a fucking meal in Japan. Don't be stuck on meat when you're in Japan, because you're not going to get the meat. You're not going to get it. It's going to be fish, right? And after 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on the supermarket, they'll have all the sashimis usually half price. So what is $13 in the day is going to be $6, $7 at night. So what I usually do is I'll kind of wait and I'll go exactly at the time, right? Like I'll even go like, let's say here's another trick. So let's say it's 7 o'clock when they go to half price. What you want to do is you want to go in there at like 6:45, and then get everything you want, put it in your thing, and then and then walk around with your cart a little bit. And then when the guy's putting the tags on, you come by and show him your cart, and then he'll put the tags on there. And because everybody will take all the good shit right away at 7:00. But if it's in your cart, they can't take it, right? It's in your cart. So get it in your cart, and then walk around, and then get the tags on it, and then go get your half price, and you'll be stoked, right? That is the smart, right thing to do. There's all these good chains in Japan. They're all like $10. Very good deal, 1,000 yen. Fantastic taste. They look good. It's all nice food. But at the end of the day, look at what's actually in that fucking meal. Right and wrong. How much protein, how much vitamin C, how much minerals, how much this, how much that. There's like bullshit. It's just bullshit. Now, I will eat bullshit, okay? And I'll happily eat bullshit. If I'm with you and we're in Ginza, we're walking around, the best deal in Ginza is probably just to go to one of those ramen places. You're in the coolest part of town. It's very expensive. They have these great ramen shops, like $10. You can have a tasty meal and you get your minerals and vitamins the next day, right? You just, for $10, it's like getting a killer meal. Like, I don't know what city you're in, but if you're in Amsterdam or something, like you're in the most expensive, coolest part of town, you can't get a meal for $10. It's difficult, right? And to get filled up. So just get filled up, right? So sometimes it's right to eat bullshit, right? Because you're with your friend. You don't want to sit there in the alley eating dark, like you want to sit down with your friend, look each other in the eye, have the lights on, So once a week or whatever, you might go to some bullshit place in Japan. But basically, most of the time, and that is the right thing to do. And you'll feel it. If you eat like I do, I'm always like a rat in the alley eating. I'm always like eating a bunch of meat or fish by myself. And I've got this huge pound of something, I'm just eating it, or like a pile of vegetables. And there's like seeds falling on the ground. And I'm always, that's me, right? Because I'm getting the best fucking deal for the price right there. And I don't give a shit, right? But once in a while, it is the smart thing to do, is to go sit in a restaurant and eat that meal and enjoy it, right? And that's what I do with the noodles in Ginza. Because in Ginza, there's really no options. I've looked at everything, If you don't go to that 1,000 yen, $10 noodle place, you're basically going to like a $50 all-you-can-eat meat place, which the meat, they serve it to you like very small plates, and they deliberately make it so you can't get enough. So theoretically, it wouldn't be that bad a deal because it's high-quality meat. But the scam in Japan is they come with these plates that are like 4 inches wide, and they're like, oh, here's your refill. And you're like, okay, next one. And they're like, okay, I'll be back. 20 minutes later, they come back with another 4-inch plate. It's like Japan has their own scams, right? You have to kind of avoid that, right? And there's other all-you-can-eat places where you can get it yourself, but they're not going to be in Ginza. They're going to be in the cheaper, and usually it's lower quality meat, right? So you just have to kind of like balance things out. What's right, what's wrong, right? There used to be in Ginza, a short walk away from Ginza, there used to be all-you-can-eat for $10 with meat, and it was a meat company. It was a meat supermarket, and below it had an all-you-can-eat restaurant I used to go to all the fucking time. I'd go to the gym, and I'd go there, and I'd just eat 10 pounds of meat. And I'd be so happy. It was super good, too. But then what happened was the Chinese tour buses found out about it. And then I saw the Chinese tourists putting the meat in their purses. And, they went bankrupt, right? Like, people were, just basically... Because the Japanese don't steal, right?
Right.
And in other countries, they do. Like, Americans steal if they can. The Japanese, won't steal, even if they can. So there was nobody watching. And I don't want to say bad about the Chinese. It's like I also, am from America, right? People steal in America. Like if you leave money around, they'll take it. And in Japan, you leave it and they'll be like, oh, sir, here's your $10 million you left on the table. That's your money. It could come, please, be careful. There's your money. Be careful. That's Japanese. They'll run down the street to tell you left money in the restaurant or whatever, or that you dropped something, or you know what I mean. So because it's that way, they couldn't afford to do that in Japan. They had to kind of stop doing that. But in the old days, you used to be able to get all-you-can-eat places that were a great deal in Japan, because everybody would just eat politely when they were there. And also, too, I don't want you to get me wrong. I would also eat politely, but I would also eat a lot of meat. They probably lose money on me, for sure, at the all-you-can-eat places. But I'm a big eater, right? They're going to make a lot of money on a Japanese girl. They're going to lose a little on me. But I'm not going to put it in my purse. I'm not going to put it in my backpack. I'm not going to take advantage of them, right? I'm just going to eat what they're offering something. I'm going to take it, right? They're not offering that you take food home, right? So that's the thing. You want to have class. You want to find the best deal. And you also want to be social. Right. And you know what I mean? It's all those things. But number one thing is what's right and wrong. Give me a fucking big meal that fills me up and makes me feel good. Because that's very important for my health. So when I'm going around the world, I want the best car for the price. I want the best fucking house for the price. I want to live in the best part of town. I want the cheapest price on food. I want to have the shoes that I can walk the longest on that are going to fall fucking apart. Like most shoes are just bullshit. They say they're walking shoes. You get blisters. If you get blisters, those aren't walking shoes. People will say something stupid like, oh, you got to wear them in or something. No, they're not walking shoes. They're never going to be good. They're bullshit. You're full of shit. Those shoes suck. Get some shoes that don't suck, right? Some shoes you put on, you start walking, you walk 10 miles, you're never going to have blisters because they're fucking walking shoes. Don't be fooled because they call them walking shoes. Or you had some pair in high school that you wore. It's bullshit. Walking shoes you can walk in and you won't get blisters. Yeah, that's it. Period, right? What is all the things that are just right and wrong? Like, for me, like the best deal on a computer right now is a, $899 MacBook M1 last generation. That computer has 16-hour battery. It's good looking. It's thin. It has it has a 15 or 16-hour battery on it. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing.
The stuff you do is perfect.
Yeah, for me, it's perfect. It's metal.
It's thin.
It's thin.
Travel,
yeah. It's lightweight. It's good looking. It's not got the best screen, but for me, I want the longest battery, cheapest price, best value, thinnest, easiest to carry around. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's no
nothing close.
No, exactly. There is nothing close. For $8.99, that's what this costs now, and that's fucking steal. There's no. I've looked around. I've seen a lot of bullshit. Now, of course, there's other better computers you can for $15.99. You can get like a Dell Latitude that's like really powerful. But in the end of the day, how much do I really do? I really don't need it. I can have a RAID stack in my house of super cheap disks. And if I want to do something really heavy duty, if I want a Bitcoin miner, I can get a bit. You know what I mean? Like basically, if I'm running around, how many times do I write the algorithm for Google when I'm sitting in a coffee shop? It's very rare, very rare. Or I compile. It's like not going to happen, right? I'm just gonna, check shit, watch some YouTube, upload some videos, edit a video maybe at the most, and that's it. That computer is the best deal right now. And it's just great. It's just a great computer. But what else? The best place to buy clothes in America is thrift stores.
Oh yeah.
Thrift stores fucking rock.
They're cheaper than Walmart. And they're better than the name brand stuff.
Yep. Yeah. You just have to be a little more patient. You got to be a little more patient. So you gotta when you go to a thrift store, you don't go shopping. What you're doing is you're just going through like a hurricane. You're looking at everything. You grab 5 things. You go to the try-on thing. You try them on. Nothing fits. You put them back. You leave. It's like a hobby. It's think of you're out walking, right? You're out. Most Ronin guys are out walking, right? So you're walking. So why can't you walk in the thrift store? Just walk in there. Just look at everything real fast. Pick a few things that you think might look good on you. Go into the changing room, come out, maybe ask some girl, hey, does this look good on me? Usually they'll tell you the truth. And then you liked it first, then she approves it. You got a second opinion, $7, whatever, buy it, right? And then you got one piece of new clothes, right? And then you just move on. And just do that on a regular basis. And you'll end up with a wonderful wardrobe for no money, right? So that's a great way to shop. If you think of the thrift store as like a mall where you're going to go shopping, then it doesn't work because they might not have anything that day, or that thrift store might suck. I found that Goodwills are the best. So if I'm going to say right and wrong, you might have a little, so-and-so little thrift store. It's usually bullshit. Goodwill, if you want like a rule, sometimes the rule's broken, but generally go for a Goodwill. They're bigger. They have more shit. They usually often have a bathroom. You know what I mean? They have parking. They're usually not overpriced. There's a few Goodwills that are kind of the exception to the rule where they'll have higher prices, but usually it's $7.99 or $6.99 for pretty much everything, right? Almost everything, right? So you can get your clothes at Goodwill, right? That's the best deal. That's right and wrong. Fucking shop at Goodwill, right?
Right.
Just make it a hobby to walk in there. Don't spend any time. Just walk in, look, try a few things on, and what you'll find is you'll end up with an eclectic bunch of clothes. And because they're so fucking cheap, you can just keep renewing your clothes all the time.
That's right.
Yeah, you're just like, you know what, I bought these, but I actually don't like them that much. But usually if you buy them for full price, you'll just keep them forever, right? But yeah, you'll just have them since high school or whatever. It's like, no. Thrift store, you're like, I'll go in there and I'll buy something, like I'll buy a shirt and I'll say, you know what, I just bought this. And you know what, I made a mistake. And I'll just take it and give it to a friend. Or I'll throw it away, right? Or I'll donate it back to them. That's what I do. I go back to Goodwill and I'll just give it to them. Yeah. Because it's like, whatever, Admit you're wrong. You made a mistake. Don't spend your life proving that you weren't wrong when you know you're wrong. Mm-hmm. You made a mistake. People make mistakes, right? But don't live with it. Don't keep making mistakes. Just clean it out. Admitting you're wrong is a beautiful thing. It's actually a beautiful thing. It'll keep your blood fresh. It'll keep you honest with yourself. It'll keep people trust you more when you can admit you're wrong.
Another thing in America that just sucks is bars. Like bars just suck. They just do. People go to bars to meet girls. It's the worst place to meet girls. They go there to drink. It's the worst place to drink. They go there to like hang out with friends. It's the worst place to hang out with friends. All those places are better done somewhere else. You can drink at home with your buddies. You can go other places where the girls actually are, where they can hear you, where they can see you. Like it's the and people will go there when they're young, and that's why it's young people that go there, is because over time they find out, oh yeah, this kind of sucks. I could go to a house party where there's no cops, where there's no people that I don't like,
Right.
where there's people that I actually know, people like, like, oh yeah, this girl is friends with this person. I can network and date that way. It's just better. And once people find that out, they don't go back. You don't see a lot of 40-year-olds at the bar. Very, very few. It's a whole lot of young people, and then it's like less and less and less and less. I mean, how many 60-year-olds do you see at a bar? It just disappears over time.
Right. And you see more of the older ones tend to be losers. So
they're like sad. Yeah, right. It's like sad people. Like a 40-year-old they're not having a good time. They look haggard. They look like beat and just like, ugh.
Right. It's because, by your logic of bars, what's happening is they are fighting against reality for all these years. Mm-hmm. They don't accept that bars just suck. Yeah, it's true, because it's the worst place to drink in America, because then you have to drive home. So you get a felony drunk driving, just for going out and having a good time, trying to have a good time and spending money.
In these cities, the cops, they park down the street from the bars and they just wait. So they wait for you to start going home and they just catch you. And they just do that all night. And it's like that at all the bars we go to. You always see the cops like parked off. They're not out of their car, like making sure people aren't getting in fights. They're in their car waiting for cars to go by. So they're specifically doing that. So it's just a big scam. It's just a big waste of time.
Right. And the thing is, too, they get like $10,000. The department will get like 10 grand for like a drunk driving, because you have to pay for a lawyer in the courts and this and that, file this. And, the courts make tons of money on that. So it makes sense that they would do that.
They get 10 grand from you, because the DUI cost about 10 grand.
Yeah.
Personally for the person.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like huge money for the cops, right? So if you want to give 10 grand to cops, then it would be a good idea, right? But if you don't, you might want to think of another kind of way to do it,
And if you're because they're all out at the bars and stuff, drinking over with your friends is better anyway because there's less cops around. Because they're all at the bars and the other places where they're going to catch all these people. So there's actually even less cops out than normal. If you're hanging out with your buddies and you want to cause a little more noise than usual, it's fine.
Right. We used to drink on the beach. We would drink as kids, and that was quite fun. That was really cool because we would walk down to the beach, right? And we would bring either in like big Slurpee containers. We'd have like vodka or whatever, and then we'd have like a backpack with like a bottle or whatever. Right. Or we'd drive the car down there, and then we would drink in the dark, and it was a very nice place to drink actually, because the waves would be coming in and you'd feel the mist. And when you would go down there, the cops would never come down there. Like never once in my entire life did the cops come down where we went. Because there was no point. Yeah. It was just like there was nothing there. But they knew that kids would go down there. But we would just go down there, we'd just drink, and then we would walk home. Because you could walk down the hills like a 10-minute walk, and then you just walk back. And then we never had to worry about that. Plus, I think I had some of my more intimate experiences with my friends there. Like we would talk and really get into like deep conversations, and like all kinds of things happened down there at the beach club and down at the beach. Some of my better memories are there, Yeah. Yeah. Like I was down there drinking, and then, I'd scam on some chick. Or I remember one time me and my friend were down there drinking, and we were sitting, how the water erodes like it's like a 3-foot wall. We were sitting right there in that 3-foot wall. Yeah. And then there was a girl, she was quite attractive, and she came up there, and she had been drinking at the party. There was like a little party there. And then she looked right at us, and she drops her pants, and she spreads her legs, and she looks right at us and pisses. But she didn't see us. She was like literally like 3 feet or 4 feet away from us. But we were in the shadow, and we were young, and it was a beautiful thing. Because she was like so attractive, and she was looking right at us and pissing. We thought she saw us, but she couldn't see us. She wasn't thinking there was anybody there. She was just, and she was in the light, right? You know what I mean? And we're just like, wow, that's a beautiful thing, And, and then she got up and went away. It was like, what the fuck, just happened, But it was, it's like there's better ways to drink than there is. Like I don't drink now, but like if I was going to drink, definitely I agree. There's bars. No, bars are just useless. Yeah, I agree. What else is like dumb that just makes no sense? And what else is good that just totally makes sense? What like anytime I see people will ask me, what kind of food do you like? Right? Do you like this kind of food or that kind of food? What I like is good homemade food. Yeah. So if I'm like in Thailand, then there's a good chance I'll find a good person, making good food that happens to be Thai, or like healthy food that is Thai because I'm in Thailand. So there's a higher possibility. Now here in Southern California or Central California, you're going to see Mexican people. You're going to tend to find good food in a Mexican supermarket, in a Mexican, what would be another place you might find a good Mexican food? In maybe a little takeaway hole in the wall, or in a little a place with like plastic tables out front. Of course you have to choose it wisely, and a lot of it used to be when I was a kid, all the Mexican food was well made, but now there's some cheesy places. But you just have to figure that out and get the right place. But so I don't care what country's food it is. It could be Nicaragua, it could be African, it could be Central American, Japanese. As long as it's healthy, good food, where you see like big chunks of meat, big chunks of vegetables, soup that's just made. It's made from bones. It's like made from things. It's not salt and MSG poured into water. That's not soup. I think people misunderstand what soup is because they had all these instant noodles and they think that's soup. No, soup is when some old lady's standing there and she puts a bunch of bones into a bowl, into a pot, and she boils it with salt and she adds things. She adds onions and stuff, and then it boils the marrow out of the bones. That's soup, right? That's what a soup is. It takes time, and it takes ingredients like bones and things like that. And then there's a lot of good shit in there that you can't get anywhere else, right? You're getting a lot of secret good stuff in there whenever you eat real food, and the rougher the better. Like if they're cooking bones, then you're in a good place. They're making real food if there's bones in there. Whatever country it is. It could be fish bones in Japan. It could be, sometimes you can't eat the bones because they're too hard, but there's ways to cook bones that you can eat them. There's a restaurant in Atami in Japan, a beach town, where they deep fry the bones to make them crispy like potato chips, and they're absolutely delicious. They're the most delicious thing you've ever had. You can't believe how delicious they are. They must, I don't know how they do it, but they do it really nice. And you can eat the whole fish. The head, the guts, the bones, it's all delicious if it's cooked properly. So like when you're eating the whole fish, here's another thing about food that's very interesting. Whenever they study people who were lost at sea, I don't know if I said this, but it's always the same story. You always hear the exact same story. When people are lost at sea, right? They're floating around. What they'll do is they'll catch fish, right? And then they'll eat the meat and they'll throw the bones and the guts away the first day. But the longer they're in the boat or on the island, they will start to eat the guts. And by the end, if they're there, let's say 60 days, they will just eat the guts and throw away the meat. And they say it tastes like chocolate, like delicious. It's because your body needs certain minerals. And so the meat doesn't give you all that stuff. And there's no vegetables, right? You're just getting fish. But the guts has everything you need in it. So that's why so now when you're a regular person out there eating food all the time, you're going to be getting a lot of minerals and stuff. And so the guts won't look so good to you. But as you really, I think one of the advantages to traveling a lot and being in places where people still cook, you know that short, stout woman or man with the big fucking hatchet, who actually cuts shit up, and they got a big wooden thing with like big hacks in it, because they've been cutting for 30 years on that same thing. Those people cook, right? And those are the kind of people that make food, and you want that. And they're those people, they're not like these yuppies that throw everything away. They use the whole fucking thing. And you want to start to think of food it's not just a bunch of lean protein. It's like the whole fucking thing. But you can't eat the whole thing if you don't cook it properly. So that's why traveling is so good, because you'll get to places where, the old lady will be making the whole thing. And then you'll finally, like I found that restaurant that has the fried bones in Japan, fish bones. I've never seen that anywhere else. And it was, how I found that restaurant was, I was in a tourist town and I was tired of it. There was one restaurant, there's like a 24-hour restaurant that's like really good place to go because it's a good deal. Get like steaks and stuff and hamburgers and fish and stuff. And there's a lot of girls. It's a great place to go, actually. But I had been there for like a week and I was eating there too much. So then I really wanted some real food. So I went out to the fishermen and I said to the fishermen, I said, where do you guys eat? And the guy's like, he like looked at me like, the Japanese fishermen, they're very hardcore dudes, and they're very humble, and he's kind of like, he's like, why are you asking me? Like, and I'm like, well, you know fish best. Like you're a fisherman in a fishing village. Like, where's the best fish restaurant? Where do you eat? And he's like, oh, you wouldn't want to eat there. And I'm like, well, where is it? And then he described over under Atami Station. If you go, there's like, Atami Station is like, no one goes in the basement because people don't even know there's a basement. It's like a tourist town. And you get there and there's all these people selling trinkets and stuff. But if you look carefully, there's actually stairs down. There's no lights or anything. And you go down the second floor, third floor. It's like the fourth floor basement down on the end. There's a restaurant with no sign, and there's no, you don't even know there's anybody there. It's like a cleaning lady or something, right? Because it's totally quiet. It's like going down one of those horror movies, like where they're going down the hospital rooms or something. You're just going down the hallway, and then sure enough, there's a restaurant on the left, and there's a lady there, and they make fish for fishermen. And so basically all the fishermen after work, they go there and eat. And if you go there and eat a bunch of food, the fishermen won't get food that day. Because good restaurants, they only make a certain amount. They don't waste food. They don't save food. Everything's fresh. Everything's healthy. Everything's today. And then it's like French. Good food can't be saved. Good food is made and eaten and done. Bad food is like lots of preservatives, lots of bullshit, lots of coloring, lots of FDA rules, lots of people telling you what to do. Good food is like you get the goat, you cut it up, you kill it, you eat it, you're fucking full, and you lay back under the tree. Kind of like the lion. The lion would catch an animal, and then he would sleep. And that's it. And then he would race and catch another animal. That's eating. And good food is like that. So look for the good food in the world. And that restaurant there, it's the only restaurant I found where they do the fish bones. And they have 1 million different kinds of fish. It's the best fish restaurant I've ever found in my life. And you can eat dinner for like $6. It's like so cheap, it's unbelievable. And it's so delicious, you'll just lose your mind. If you like food and you have an open mind and you try different things there, and your mind will fry. The food's so good. The fish is so good and so creative, and it's so real Japanese. Even Japanese guys listening right now, you've probably never been to a real fish restaurant. I'm serious. This right here, go to this place, and you will then post below, and you'll be like, holy shit, holy shit, this is the real deal. So that's what I want. I want to find more of the real deal in life, because I don't have time to cook like that, right? But other people do, and they're out there doing it, but you have to find them, right? And the other thing too is if you go to that restaurant, it's totally different than another restaurant. It's like you're in someone's house. Be nice, have good manners, don't fucking yell, don't be a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? You just sit there and eat your fucking food. You know what I mean? Say thank you, right? That's what you're doing there. And you'll feel it. It's different, right? When people really cook food, they're putting, what is it? A real cook puts their heart into the food, right? And same with a good massage. They're putting their self into it, right? They're not making it for money. It's a different kind of thing. Food is nourishment. Your body, your soul. It's important. I think Americans are totally lost. They don't know what's real anymore. When you travel and you see people, they're still living close to the earth. You'll understand what I'm talking about. It's almost like disgusting the way people live so on the surface here. Like they've never had a good meal, many people here. They don't know what a good meal is. Most people here, they don't know what a good fucking meal is. If you go to like anybody here on the podcast, if you're in France, French country food is special. Fucking awesome. French country food. Big fucking bones. Big fucking food. And it's not for money. It's not for money. It's like French culture. It's like real. It's amazing, actually. I think traveling, one of the biggest things is you learn about life when you travel, right? If you really travel, it's not just going there. It's finding what's fucking real. Real food. Real people. They don't even do things for money. I don't do things for money. They don't do things for money. They're on a totally different wavelength. They're doing things because they're right, you know? And you see that, you're like, that's fucking cool, man. You wanna support that. You want to be part of that. You know, it's like, it's cool to do things for money. It's totally cool. Nothing wrong with that. But I think I prefer, you know, being in the real, the fucking real. It's hard to find. It's hard to find the fucking real. I heard there's one place I really want to go. I heard that there's in Mexico, and I don't know where it is, but somewhere down, maybe down in the peninsula, down Yucatan, there's places where they cook soup for 2 weeks. They make like a chocolate meat soup, and it takes 2 weeks to make, and it's supposed to be absolutely fucking delicious. They make it for some festival, and I want to go down and try that. I really want to eat that. It sounds really fucking good. Because Mexican chocolate's really cool. And you wouldn't think chocolate would be, but if you really know Mexico and Mexican food and like real Mexican food, it's not, when I'm talking about Mexican food here in Santa Maria, I'm not really talking about Mexican. There's a difference. Like basically the restaurant you want to go to, the food you want to have. My dad had like 500 Mexicans working for him when I was a kid. And they used to bring real food to us. That was like back 50 years ago. And they would bring like tamales. They were blue. They were like some kind of blue. It's a great memory for me as a kid. And their wives would make them. They would grind the fucking corn like on rock. Just like they would work their ass off. And they would bring it because they were grateful for a job and stuff. And it was like a special thing they'd bring. And I would just eat them like a kid. I'd just like, just eat them up. That was when I learned about it. I learned about food from those Mexican guys. You know, these days, the Mexican guys I meet are very rarely the quality of guys I met back then. They were really good guys. And they gave a shit. They gave a shit. And I think food's part of it. It's just, I don't need to really say much more. But, yeah, find real shit. Find real shit in this world. It's like there's so much bullshit. It's just all around you. And I can hang with all this bullshit. It's fine. But I'm always looking for the real. I'm always looking for, what is that one thing? That one fucking meal, that one fucking lady. She's like working her ass off to make something. And it's very cool, you know. It's very cool when you find this shit. And it will change your kind of perspective on life, I think. It just change your perspective on people and life. So you're not looking for the food, like this kind of food or that kind of food. You're looking for a certain kind of real, I think. I think that's where it really is. And you got to show gratitude when you find the real. You don't treat it like you're a McDonald's, you know. And at the same time, you're not kissing ass either. You're just seeing it and knowing what it is, right? That's all you got to do. If you just know the real, they're going to know. And they'll be grateful to give you that food. Sometimes they'll give you food to take home because they're like, oh, he knows, you know. He appreciates this. It's because you're noticing shit. Because most people do, like what I found, most people these days with Yelp and stuff, they only know something's good if someone tells them, right? Or if there's a plaque and they read it and it says, you know, it tells you a story. This is made from this, and that's why this. And then you read that, and then you believe it. But all that is marketing. It's just marketing. Americans are great at marketing. That's one thing that's super scary. Americans are so good at marketing that you can believe a lot of lies, you know, about things. And so we read plaques, we read websites, and they tell us what is true. What you want to be is the kind of person who's experienced a lot of things, and you don't need a plaque, you don't need a website, you don't need anyone to tell you, just see it. And you're like, that's fucking real, right? I can see that right there, what they're doing. That's fucking real. And then you'll go around the world and you'll find stuff, and you'll be able to put together a list of things that are real, right? And I think that's incredibly valuable. For me, that's like everything. And that's why I travel, that's why I do stuff, is to kind of to find those few things that are still there. Like there's a lot of old stuff that's still here, still around, but it's just not easy to find. I found it in France. I found it in French countryside, country food sometimes. I found it in certain people, certain areas, certain restaurants, or there's certain situations. And I think that for me, it's incredibly valuable to find these things. But also I think that the people that are real, that are doing real things, they need me too. They need people who come in and, you know what I mean? Like, let's say some lady is like really cooking the real, right? She's really doing the real thing, right? A rich guy can come in, okay, and just throw money around and give his credit card, pay them a bunch of money, and that will pay her bills. But she really is not doing it for that. The only thing that does is keep her alive, So she does need that kind of guy who doesn't appreciate. He just comes in and just kind of throws a bunch of money. He could be a Silicon Valley guy. He could be like a rich, corrupt Chinese guy, a government official. It could be any kind of guy who would just give a bunch of money. But what they really want, the reason why they're doing it is so that people will appreciate it. Because they could easily go do something else that's much more efficient and easier and would make more money. But they're doing that, right? So by eating that and appreciating that, you are giving them what they really need, which is you see life the same way they do. It's because they see it properly and you see it properly, right? And so you're like, oh yeah, I see that, So you might, for example, just thinking out loud here, but let's say that you find something that's very cool. Like in the thrift store, we found a silk piece of Japanese cloth that had gold. It had gold inlaid. And if you've ever watched there's a great documentary on making kimonos that I saw in YouTube. And it's like, they were talking about the incredibly complicated process of making a very expensive kimono, like a $20,000 or $30,000 kimono. It's like a many month process to make. And then it's finally decided, and it's beautiful the way they make it. And the funny thing is, some of that cloth ends up in all kinds of places. So my mom found it in the thrift store. So I can figure out what happened was in America, because what had happened is, I can almost say for sure, because I've seen this so many times, when the war ended, Japan had no money, but the only people who had money were American servicemen in Japan. And because it was a colony, it was an American colony for a while, they had dollars. And so these guys came in and they were like totally had no appreciation for Japanese culture at all, really. But they would just throw their money around, and the Japanese were like working so hard to make these things, and they had no appreciation, but they would just buy them. And for the Japanese, it was just enormous amount of money. But they were just like some kid from Iowa who had no clue. He didn't know what a buffoon he was. You know what I mean? But compared to the culture of Japan, it was two totally different worlds. But I tell you, a lot of those guys over time a lot of those guys as servicemen became the real deal. Some of them figured it out. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It's where you go. It's where you end up. But we found that gold inlaid stuff, and it was amazing because it was. I don't know what it's worth. I mean, I don't care about the dollar, but it was like we found in the thrift store some beautiful cloth, and I know that it was from my knowledge of kimonos, and I helped somebody buy oboes in Japan once, so I got a good background in Tokyo of the different types of cloth, different types of designs, the different types of techniques for making the traditional kimono, right? And so I had some knowledge, but we found these beautiful gold inlaid cloths from there. And it was like, you look at those and you see, it wasn't for money that they made them, right? It was just, they just felt it was the right thing to do, And I'm not saying you should always be like this or your whole life is like, it's being this guy who appreciates stuff. I think it's just one more addition to your life is to know that some things are very different than what you know. There's a level of depth with artisans, craftsmanship, concern, food, that are totally different than what you know. And when you see it, and again, I'm not talking about the cheesy guys. There are a lot of people, now that I'm saying it out loud, there's a lot of fucking fake guys who go around appreciating things, and there's a lot of fake emotion. I'm not talking about the people that, it's like they hang their hat on, I'm this kind of guy. I'm just talking about going around, no plaques, no websites, and you see something and you appreciate it. You know what I mean? You just fucking see it with your own eyes and you appreciate it. That's what I'm talking about. Is as you go around, you might be in an area where there's like all the birds are one color and then there's a blue one and you notice that. You're like, whoa, that's a beautiful bird. And it might be a small bird, you know what I mean? It's not like blowing you away, but you notice that bird's not usually in that area. It's very rare to see that bird, right? It's you notice life, right? And when somebody is really doing something real, you just notice it. Now, they might go out of business, right? I have a lot of friends who were too sincere with their businesses and they went bankrupt. And both in audio, like back in the 80s, there was a lot of guys making like really sincere audio stuff. A guy that I knew had a company called Music Reference, and he made tube preamplifiers using tubes that he bought from the Russian space station. Like the Russian space station had the highest standards for tubes at the time. And so he went to Russia to buy these tubes, and then he made these preamps, and it was like it was the smoothest, softest, nicest sounding. And I bought one from him. I had one, and it was like beautiful, soft, because I had a speaker that needed a lot of power, and I had an amplifier that was super powerful that could run those speakers, but the amplifier was a transistor, was not tube, and it was super powerful, but it had this harsh. Transistor amps have a certain harshness, and tube amps have a certain softness. So I couldn't find the perfect balance, because if I spent $20,000 for a Mark Levinson, monoblocks at the time, I would get enough power to power my speakers, and then I would need like a tube preamp. So I'd be like another $10,000. So I'd be like a $30,000, and then I would have enough power to power my speakers. But instead, I got all the power I needed for $700 from my amp, and then I got a tube preamp from him that I traded him for something else that I owned, and then I got it for free. So I had a tube preamp that was so soft and so delicate that it would put that softness on the sound, combined with the power, combined with these speakers that were just, I still think, are the finest speaker, Dahlquist DQ10s. And the combo was just beautiful, beautiful. But I put it together, with myself and my own mind. And for $700, I got the sound that was just absolutely stunningly beautiful, right? So it was a beautiful thing that I put together myself, right? And so I think a lot of life is like, you can make beautiful things yourself with things that other people made, but it takes intelligence. It takes a concern for the real. You know what I mean? And I love the real sound. I love an accurate sounding speaker. I don't want extra bass or treble. I want like a studio monitor flat sound. And what every speaker that you buy in America, pretty much 99.9%, they exaggerate the bass, they exaggerate the treble. And the reason why is because when you first listen to it, the sound catches your ear. the extra bass, boom, boom, and the kss, kss, that sounds good to you at first. And so it draws you in and you buy it. And then in most people, that's their whole life. That's all they know. But what you want, if you get a really flat speaker, okay, a really flat studio monitor, the way that you appreciate sound, and sound is one of the most underappreciated things in the world. So I'll end on talking about sound. Sound is a beautiful thing. Sight is kind of bullshit compared to sound. Okay, so you have audio, video. Video is kind of bullshit because video, our sense of sight came millions of years after sound, or hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, a long fucking time. Okay, sight did not exist. Okay, and then the first animals had, a sense of light and dark, and then we had the Cambrian explosion with all the flowers and all the, all this stuff changed. But the thing is sound of your mother's voice is very different than looking. If you want to know the difference, just think of the sound of your mother's voice and then read her name written down. That's the difference between sound and sight. One is very fake. It's a construct. It's a logical construct. The sound of her voice is very rich and full, and memories will flood back, right? With the sound of the voice. It's because sound is totally different, right? So sound is something that I learned when I was selling audio and video. First I was all excited about video, and then after I got more and more to become an audiophile at the time, now I consider myself just a person who listens to things, not, I don't like that term, but that was a good road for me to get me to where I am now, And so then when I was selling audio and video, and I don't remember, somebody told me or something, but they said, serious guys just like sound, like video is just bullshit. And I forgot how I found out. Somehow somebody imparted wisdom that I'm trying to do now. But they basically said, they explained it to me in a way that I understood. So maybe that your mother's voice is my example, but I think that's maybe a good enough example. And just go with that and realize, close your eyes, right? And you want to get a very flat speaker, okay? Like JBL, what are they called?
Like a reference.
There's a reference speaker from JBL. It's a 12, something 12. It was a standard reference they used to use in studios, like in the Rolling Stones days and stuff. They'd have those in the studio because the musicians, they want to hear exactly what they're creating, they want a reproduction of the exact sounds they have. And the reason is because then they can adjust if they're missing anything or whatever. Now, most fans don't really know much about music. They want exaggerated highs and lows. But any musician or any serious audio listener just wants the flat. We want to hear exactly what the sound is. We want a recording that's the most accurate. We want a room that is the most acoustically, best acoustical. Sometimes that doesn't any technology at all. It's very simple, right? There's like rooms they made back in the Roman days. They just have beautiful sound. There's theaters where they did Shakespeare a gazillion years ago that still have some of the best sound. They understood sound, and today we don't understand sound. There's things you can do to make a room better. Like, for example, you can take the pillows off your couch and put them in the corners of the room. Put one in each corner, and you can take a nail or whatever, put one in each corner up on the top, and your room will sound better right there because the echoes start to disappear in your room. There's just simple things you can do to improve sound. But basically what you want is just, if you want the sound of a bird, you just want the bird. And here's what happens. When you go away from the fake of life, right, and you go to the real, it takes time. And you have to be patient with yourself. Because at first, the real food might not even taste good to you. It takes time to appreciate, to understand. But it's not like taking time to be more bullshit. It's taking time to, it's almost like your blood pressure is too high when you go on vacation. It takes time to slow down. You can't go on vacation for 3 days It doesn't, your brain, your blood pressure, your nervous system takes time to slow, where you finally can start to appreciate where you are. The first few days when you go somewhere, you're not even there yet. You don't even realize, your body doesn't know you're there yet. It takes a certain amount of days and you'll wake up and you'll be like, wow, I'm here now. That's why I don't like these guys that take Instagram pictures everywhere. It's because they're pretending like they were there, but they were not there. It takes time to be somewhere. If you sleep somewhere, if you wake up somewhere, after a certain amount of days, you realize, wow, this is beautiful here. It takes time to really appreciate what is there. And you're not creating it. You're not like, oh, look at the blue, look at this. That's your mind telling you what's there. No, you sit there and you feel what's there, and then you'll know what's there, right? It might be different than what you think, right? The beauty of that place might be not even in the colors. It might be in the silence, or it might be in the vastness, or it might be in the whatever. It could be in something that you just don't understand. And the beauty of that place is something that you need to kind of slow your busy mind down. Like Hinduism, they're really into this slowing down. I really like that part of Buddhism and Hinduism, is like that slowing the mind. And that'll allow you, the reason why you do that is not to slow your mind down. It's so that you can see the fucking world and stop living in a fantasy. And that's how you understand and appreciate things. That's how you see your friends and how you see yourself. The reason why you can be fooled so easily by sounds and dishonest companies and friends and marketing that's presented to you is because you're not able to be in the real life. You're in the fantasy, so it's easy to fool you, right? But the more you slow down and you see the real, life will just become really intuitive and obvious. You'll start to know there's certain people you'll like to be around more. They're just something real. And you'll just be like, whatever you do is just better. Because they're just in the real. They're in the moment. They're there with you. They're not selling anything to you. They're not selling. When I say selling, I don't mean money. I mean like selling an idea or the way things are. They're just there. And they're honest. And that will bring you, that will slow you down, because you'll see them and you'll be like, whoa, that's good. Whatever that is, that's fucking good, right? And so with the sounds is what you want to, here's the way I think about sound, and this is the way I think you can use this as a metaphor for other things. But what you want to do is you want to get a flat speaker, okay? So you want to go, here's what you can do. Go to an audio listening room. Okay, just go to an audio listening room. Whatever city you're in. They always have one. It's usually high end. Don't worry about the price. You're just first going in just to try to start to see the real. That's all you're doing. So go down there and just tell the guy, it's always kind of a high end place. So you got to talk to a guy and just say, look, I really want to just hear the most flattest speaker you have. Like, what is the most flat sound you have? And I want to hear it on the most flat. I don't want any added bass treble. I don't want an equalizer. I want the most flat sound. And then what would you recommend as the most, best audio to listen to for this? Where there's a variety of, whatever it is, it's voices, or it might not even be a music. It might be a sound of birds, or it might be sound of a fire truck, or water rushing, or whatever it is. Something that will give you a good understanding of what is sound, right? It could be music. It could easily be Spanish guitar or piano. It could be some type of jazz, classical. It could be rock and roll. It could be anything, really. It could be flutes. It could be a boys' choir. It could be anything. But you want something that is recorded very, very well and is very, very accurate, right? Then have them put it on, and have them put it on not very loud. That's the other thing. Everything is very loud. The reason why they turn it up loud is because it's fake. And so they want to overwhelm your senses. So that's why when you go to a restaurant, when you go to any place where they're selling you something, it's always going to be very bright and in your face. And you'll be drawn to it. You don't want that. You want the opposite. It's like a dark forest, where you're going into the dark forest and you're sitting down and you're waiting for the real to come to you, right? So with music, what you want to do is you want to put it on. Don't put it on loud. Put it on like I don't know, maybe at the most, the sound of my voice, now, that level. And then get into there's a proper place to sit, okay? Right and wrong. There's a place where the engineers design the sound to be the best. There's one spot. You want to sit in that spot. So it might be 6 feet away, 10 feet away, whatever, right in the middle of the two speakers. And the other thing is you don't want 4 speakers, because they didn't design the sound to be, they designed sound with 2 channels, right? Now, movies and stuff, they add other channels, but really it's bullshit. It's really bullshit.
Simulated.
Yeah, it's just bullshit. What you want, simulated, yeah. What you want is you have 2 ears. That's the reason. So there's 2 ears, you have 2 ears, and you're listening to 2 sounds, stereo, right? So you want to be right there in that stereo. You want it totally flat. You want it not too loud. And you want a recording that's really a good recording. It could be something like Pink Floyd, like Money, that was recorded very well. Steely Dan was recorded very well. Joni Mitchell was recorded pretty well, considering there's a few people that were recorded. There's some Neil Young stuff that was recorded very well. There's some bands where they really focused on recording, and they did a great job recording. Some albums were just recorded better. And there's a big difference between quality of sound guys. Sound people, there's a huge difference in how much they cared when they placed the microphone, how long they took to suss the room out and to do everything it took to record it well. It's really hard work to make a good recording. But in the past, just like that old lady that makes the reel, there's people who made the real sound. And you want to find those guys. So it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's your favorite song or it's a song you never heard. Get the best recording with, you could have something that's has a lot of different things, or it could be one thing. It doesn't matter really that much. Then you want to sit down and have the salesman go away and just close your eyes and just listen and wait. Because when you first listen, it's going to sound very boring. Okay? It's going to sound very flat and boring. You're not going to be used to it. It might even take 2 or 3 times to go back before you can hear things. But I think generally most Ronin guys are pretty smart. I think if you go to an audio listening room, get the right recording, sit in the right place, and then listen for 15 minutes, check your watch. After 15 minutes, you should be able to start hearing the music, right? So just wait, let the first 15 minutes go by, and then listen, and just listen to the sounds. And you'll start to know what I'm talking about. You start to realize, wow, there's more bass than I thought in this. Or that's real bass. That's a real sound, right? That's a real sound. And that's a real human's voice, right? And then when you listen to that, then try different, you can go a lot of places from there. But just remember how long it takes to slow down. I think it takes months, but 15 minutes will give you an opening. But the longer that you relax and allow your no longer being overwhelmed by the flavors of the food or by the stuff blowing you away or the marketing. You've got something real, and you're waiting for your brain to be able to slow down and let it in. Let that sound come in. And the reason why is because it's very deep. Sounds are very deep. They move bones in your ear. They move bones in your body. You're not listening to something. You're feeling it. It's in you, you know. And that's also how you learn to be a good dancer too, is by feeling, slowing down and feeling that music, feeling the sound. You just become more aware, and also you become more sensual too. The more you can, can feel, can allow the outside thing to become an inside thing, basically. You know, the thing is moving over there, and you're allowing yourself to move. You're allowing yourself to feel that. Now, this sounds very ethereal, but if you don't have this explanation, you're never going to probably learn to hear good music. Like, it's very important to do this. I even have to do it myself. I have to slow down. I have to, you know what I mean? It's like so used to things just being overwhelming and stuff, and just slow down and let that music dum, dum. And then you'll hear the sound, and your mind will start to, you can, with a good recording and a flat speaker and a quality amp, you will start to be able to see with your eyes closed where the people were sitting, where they are located, where the people were physically. And you'll start to hear things like a small breath that they tried to edit out, but it's there. You'll hear it. Or you might even hear them dropping a pen in the background or something of a recording. Believe it or not, you can actually catch flaws in a recording this way. Because you'll be so, you're there, and you'll be like, no way, I can't believe no one caught that. I've caught things in the background, like voices and things dropping and stuff. And it's like, wow. 'Cause I started to listen to audio when I was very young, when I got the job at Leo's. That's what led me to high-end audio. And it wasn't about spending a lot of money, because I'm very cheap. I buy everything used. I'm very careful what I buy, but I care about the real. So sometimes even people that have like an old amplifier that weighs like 400 pounds, that's ugly as fuck and has huge wires, they'll just give it to me. They'll be like, okay, I had this old thing in my garage. It's very good, but it's just not practical in my small apartment anymore. And here, and I'll give them something, right? Maybe I'll find something that just has a very nice sound. And it's interesting to be into sound too, because I actually found a very nice pair of speakers in China that were like $20. $20 with a built-in amp. Now, they weren't the quality I'm talking about. They were not the audiophile, but they were amazingly good. They were a brand called Edifier. Now, Edifier now has a lot of plastic speakers and this and that, but they had one in Shanghai. It was like $30, but you could bargain them down to 20. And as soon as I heard them, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I went just to get a cheap pair of speakers for my computer, you know, and I listened to them. I'm like, what in the hell? I'm like, these are amazingly good speakers. They were solid wood. Of course, it was composite, but still, they were heavy. You know, a good speaker is going to be heavy. Yeah. And they were heavy speakers, and they had surprisingly big magnets on those, behind those speakers. I took them apart later, and I had many pairs of them, right? And I told my friends about them, and all my friends bought them, because once you hear a good speaker, it's very difficult to go back to fake. So a good speaker, don't think I'm talking about audiophiles in the sense that you need a $175,000 amplifier. Because my friend has one. I have a lot of friends with stuff like that, actually. And I don't poo-poo that. There is something real about if you're very wealthy, if you're Jeff Bezos, it's worth experimenting with a lot of very high-end eclectic stuff. It is. And if I was Jeff Bezos, I would definitely be experimenting with $20 speakers and also with, hundreds of thousands of dollars speakers. I'd be checking everything, right? But as a normal guy, you don't want to be a slave to it, right? So here's the way I look at it. I go to each country I'm at, each place I'm at, and I want the real, so I'm looking around. So it might be used, it might be whatever. And then I don't carry with me things. So, my stereo that I had in California with the Dahlquist and the Electron Kinetics Eagle 2A and the music reference tube amp, that combination was beautiful. And I had these like very nice thick, they were like very nice cables, gold cables and everything. And I had it sent over to Japan. But then I learned my lesson. And I learned that you can't travel with this stuff. It ended up costing a bunch of money just to import them. Because they thought they were like something else. They didn't know they were audio equipment. They thought it was like some kind of fancy something else. Because it doesn't look like audio equipment. It looks like you're trying to build a radio station or a nuclear power plant or something. Like they're very weird looking. Like it's like they didn't know what to think of them. So they jacked it up, and my girlfriend paid it when I was gone on vacation. I would have never paid it, but she paid some crazy fee to bring them into Japan. So anyway, I had them in Japan. It was beautiful, but I realized that life is in the moment. So get in the real, find what's real, learn that you can spot what's real, and just do the best with what you got in the moment. So I'll get to China and I'll find what's real there. And I'll surround myself in my apartment. But the minute I leave, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go to the next place. And I'm going to find the real in that next place. I'll just leave the stereo, throw it away, give it to somebody. And then I'll go and then I'll find the real sound. It might take me a couple of years to kind of, because I would rather listen to nothing than garbage. Nothing is beautiful. Once you really get into sound, you'll realize nothing is great. Because you can just listen to people's, sound of their heels when they're walking. You can listen to birds outside. You can listen to wind. You can listen to all kinds of stuff. You don't need an audio equipment to listen to cool things, right? So last night we were out hiking. We could hear the quietness, like just listening to that was cool, right? That was listening, right? So I wait until the time is right and it's something I can buy that's real and very light on my spirit, right? I don't want something heavy on my spirit. Even though I could make a bunch of money and buy the top end stuff and carry it everywhere with me, to me, it's a breaking of the whole thing. It's kind of a breaking of the whole concept of flowing and seeing what's real. It's like I'm just carrying around this fake life. It's like, yes, that is beautiful. Yes, that's real. But it's a trap. It's a trap. So I'll go into someone's house. I can go into one of my friends, he just got some new speakers. I think they were $375,000. Yeah, my old boss, Ofer, in Israel. I talked to him the other day. He got these speakers, and I asked him what are the best speakers. He said, these ones. I can't remember the name. And then he said, I just got a pair. And I'm like, how the fuck, And then I said, how much are they? And then he told me, and I was like, what? And then this other guy, Moshe, the guy worked at Leo's too. He bought it for me because he became very rich, and he wanted to thank him. He bought them the speakers, and we're all still into audio after all these years, and we talk because he's the only guy I trust. Ofer is the only guy I know I can completely trust on sound. He knows Ofer, for all intents and purposes. Ofer is God. He knows everything. Like for me, because he spent his whole life, like he was into audio back then, and nothing's changed. He still lives for good audio. And so I can always go to him. Because I went and lived for girls, for travel, for food, for other things. But in the real, if we're talking about the real audio, Ofer knows the real audio. And also he knows a lot of other stuff too. Because people that are into the real, they're into every kind of, you know what I mean? He came to visit me in Bangkok once. We had a great time together, just sitting on the street, just talking, and just, you know, it was very awesome actually. But he knows the audio, so I'll just, I'd love to hear his speakers. I'd love to go to Israel and sit there, listen to the recordings that he has, and just sit there and feel it with him, you know, and just feel the real audio, you know, with his choice, you know, everything he chooses would just be interesting, you know. I'm not going to request anything. I'm just going to go there and see what he plays, what is available, you know. And then I can take that with me. That sound goes with me. The real, see, when you feel the real, you don't need it all the time. You just need to know what it is. And it becomes part of you. Like it becomes part of me. So I don't need to hear all the time. I just need to find it and see it. You know, I can happily be in places where it's not. But I need to know, right? I need to really know about life. Yeah, I don't have to be trapped in any one place or in one thing, but I just want to know, right? And I think that's the key, is once you know, you'll realize the difference. Is you don't need it always entertaining you. You'll just know. You'll just fucking know. That's the goal. I'm going to end there.